Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wekiva High School welcomes you to the fourth and final game of our quadruple header. Please welcome our guests from Orlando Christian Prep. They are the Warriors. And they'll be taking on your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Before we begin our game this evening, we ask that you please stand and remove your hats as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem. And now let's meet the teams. We'll begin with our guests from OCP, and we'll start at guard with 6'1" senior number 0, Terrence Reese. At forward, 6'7" sophomore number 2, Van Allen Lubin. At guard, 6'3" sophomore number 3, Anthony Brown. At guard, 6'3" senior number 5, Eric Butler. And finally for OCP, at guard, 6'5" senior number 13, Sam Ahiwaba. The head coach of the Warriors is Trey Burke. And now let's meet the starting lineup for your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Starting at small forward, 6'2" junior, number 1, Donovan Stokes. At point guard, 5'10" sophomore, number 3, Jamaric Heaven. At shooting guard, 5'10" junior, number 4, Quan Terry Roberson. At small forward, 5'10" junior, number 11, Jared Bryan. And finally for the Mustangs, at power forward, 6'2" junior, number 12, Nikhil Edouard. The head coach of the Mustangs, Mr. Justino Lubin, assistant coaches Charles Hardy and Dwayne Howard. The officials for tonight's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. For those of you in the arena, make sure your friends and family back home know that they can follow along live with tonight's game. We are live streaming on YouTube and also simulcasting on the NFHS network. You can pull it up on your favorite computer, smart TV, or mobile device. Again, Wekiva Sports on YouTube or Wekiva High School on the NFHS network. And good evening. Welcome to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, here as always along with Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, ready to take you through this contest in the penultimate week of the men's basketball season for 2019-20.
Well, thank you again, Mark. As always, it's good to be back here at Mustang Gymnasium. As you mentioned, this is our fourth contest.
Van Allen Lubin on the pass from Sam Ahiwaba.
Our fourth contest of the day. These are the varsity boys. And Wekiva has a big challenge ahead of it tonight. Of course, anybody who follows high school basketball throughout the state of Florida knows about OCP's reputation. They are a multiple-time state champion.
Van Allen Lubin, another basket for OCP.
A multiple state champion in the lower classifications, usually 1 and 2. But they are also 17-2 so far this season. They are ranked 11th across the state in the Max Prep rankings. And we got a missed shot there. Brown
get the layup. Bryan on the rebound.
So again, 17-2 for OCP. They are averaging. Hold on, we have a foul here.
Push is called against Mustangs number 11, Jared Bryan is first, the team's first.
So OCP comes in, they're averaging 66.3 points a game.
Basket on the jumper by Anthony Brown, and the Mustangs will request a timeout.
And
30-second timeout called by Wekiva.
Before we go to break, that is 66.3 points per game being averaged by OCP on the offensive end, while giving up only 45.2 on the defensive end.
Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi and Neil Fisher here with you to take you through this varsity contest. And if you're watching this live, you know that we're starting a little bit late here. In fact, more than a little bit. We're actually an hour behind schedule. This is the fourth game in a quadruple header. We want to extend a special thanks to our OCP friends who bore with us with a lot of patience as we got through two great middle school games. It's a tradition that we hope to start here at Wekiva. 2 out of the 3 main feeders for Wekiva High School participating in that, Ocoee and Piedmont Lakes. And that's the first time we've done that in 13 years, something we want to make an annual tradition as we make a home for those future Mustangs. Good look by Jamaric Hammond on the layup. Not there, though, and Van Allen Lubin comes up with the rebound.
So again, Wekiva yet to get on the board here.
Terrence Reese for 3.
And as I mentioned, OCP year in, year out is a state championship contender. So just from that perspective, Wekiva comes in with a tall challenge, but that tall challenge is made even taller tonight as OCP has gotten even better than they usually are at 17-2. Again,
they are well on track for a 20-win season, which is their goal every year.
Yeah, and
it doesn't come as a surprise to anybody, I don't think.
And again, OCP averages 66 points scoring. They give up only 46. So that does, again, just even increase the challenge more so.
Hugh Roberson puts the Mustangs on the board.
And a nice drive there by Robertson, leading that shoulder down and getting some position along the boards. Much needed basket as well.
Then Allen Lubin gets the basket and a chance to make it a 3-point play. The foul is called against Mustangs. Number 11, Jared Bryan, his second personal foul, and the team's second as well.
So
checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 0, Tristan Bryan.
So unfortunately, Wekiva makes a good play there on the one end, and they come back and make a play that has twice the impact on the other hand. Just not a good decision under the board there.
And they'll catch a break there as the 3-point play doesn't fall.
And
down goes to Caballero.
And again, Mark, I talk about taking 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards. If you've been listening to us at any point this season, you know that's pretty much been the theme for this season's Wekiva Mustangs. They are a very young and inexperienced team, even though they do have a lot more experience and they have grown up a lot as far as playing time, being that we are 20 games into the season. They still are very young and inexperienced compared to most of the opponents they are taking on.
Edouard gets to the paint and draws a foul before the shot. Hand check is called against number 2, Van Allen Lubin. That's his first personal foul. And it's the team's first as well.
So again, Wekiva with only a 3-17 record. And they are a young and inexperienced team because nobody from last season's team who saw any significant or time during critical moments in a game returned.
And speaking of losing personnel, the Mustangs are actually getting ready to do a lot more of that. Senior night coming up next week. Blocked out of bounds by Van Allen Lubin. A lot of personnel changes coming in here.
Both teams have gone man-to-man throughout this game so far. Of course, again, if you follow high school basketball, you know that's pretty much the norm. About 92-93% of teams play man-to-man defense nowadays.
Hold called against KJ Robinson, his first, the team's second.
So if you're Wekiva at this point, you want to keep that lead from growing to over 10. Again, when you're a young, inexperienced team, and little steps are very, very important.
So OCP, if you didn't catch the personnel changes, now has their entire bench in the game. I think that was supposed to be an assist. Hastings can't get it. Putback's not going to go either. And Hammond comes up with the rebound for the Mustangs.
Wekiva catching another break there as they really did not get good position underneath the board.
Tristan Bryan gets called for traveling. Warriors ball. Checking in for the Mustangs, number 10, Isaiah Laster.
So far, the only points put on the board for the Mustangs has been Quinteri Robertson. Again, Wekiva catching somewhat of a break here over the last minute and a half or so as OCP is in a shooting slump.
Foul is called against Jayden Hastings on the loose ball. That's his first, the team's third.
OCP started off this game making 4 of their first 5 baskets. They've since missed the last 4. So, again, Mark, while we got a bit of a lull here in the action, this is not a game what we've seen previously as far as the up and down pace, much slower pace. But nonetheless, while we got that pace, talk a little bit here about the FHSAA. They have changed the classifications from a total of 9 to 7, which also means the districts have been reshuffled as well.
Push is called against Camden Easley. His first, the team's fourth.
And we just bring this up, Mark. It's something we talked about quite often during the first half. We haven't talked about as much here the last 5 or 6 games, but once the playoffs start, if the teams do not look familiar, that is the reason why. Again, going from 9 classifications down to 7, which also affects membership in the specific districts.
And actually, the Mustangs will not even see all of their potential postseason opponents in the regular season. It's no longer required that you play against every district opponent at least once.
Yeah, and that's another big change that has been dictated by the reduction of classifications.
Omar Figueroa Acevedo for 3 on the pass from Brian Miller.
As a matter of fact, I believe Wekiva is going to play 1 district member during the regular season, that being Forest.
Steal by Figueroa Acevedo, and he converts. Omar Figueroa Acevedo steals the basket and a chance to make it a 3-point play. Foul called against Mustangs. Number 10, Isaiah Laster. That's his first personal foul and the team's third. Well, Neil, that's just about the worst case scenario there. You lose the possession to a steal and you get a 3-point play opportunity against you.
Yeah, and that's the second time we've seen that scenario in this quarter.
This time Figueroa Acevedo converts, and that makes it a 15-point ball game.
So as I was saying, Forest is the only district member that Wekiva is going to see during the regular season. They were scheduled to play Mainland on January 11th, as was canceled.
Omar Figueroa Acevedo steals another layup.
So again, you really see here in this first quarter that idea that Wekiva takes 1 step forward and 2 backwards. As I mentioned at the beginning of this game, just in general, even if Wekiva came in with an experienced team used to winning, defeating OCP was a tall challenge.
Tristan Bryan for 3.
But that challenge, of course, has been further exasperated by Wekiva's youth and inexperience, leading to a number of mistakes here. Of course, most recently we saw it on that turnover and then the foul committed while the layup was being scored.
Yeah, and we've seen how Wekiva does against some of the bigger Orlando Metro schools so far this year. Jaden Hastings from Omar Figueroa Acevedo.
Last shot here for Wekiva to keep that lead under, make some ground here. They're trailing by 16. If you're Wekiva, the goal is to get it under 15 here at the end of the first quarter. And again, mention when you're a young and inexperienced team, small steps are very, very important.
That takes us to the end of the first quarter. And it's a 16-point ball game. 21-5 is the score at the end of the first 8 minutes. KJ Robinson. Strike that AJ Brown for 3. And well, Neil, we didn't even get to properly welcome the people back before we already have a basket scored right on the first possession.
Yeah, OCP, no hesitation there, attacked the basket right away as soon as the whistle was blown to start the second quarter. Now a 19-point lead. And looking at the first quarter stats here, they certainly reflect that 19-point lead. Really, the difference has been percentage. As I mentioned, OCP went through a stretch there about a minute and a half where they missed 4 field goals. Otherwise, this lead would be even bigger. They made all 9 of the other attempts there. They're 9 of 13 from the field. That's a 69% clip. Wekiva, on the other hand, shooting only 2 of 10. And, of course, usually when you are shooting a high percentage, an extremely high, over 60%, that goes hand in hand with turnovers, which is now 5-0 in favor of OCP.
Block is called against Eric Butler. That's his first. The team's 5th.
So these will be the first 2 free throws attempted by Wekiva. Free throws have not really been an issue. Usually when you do have a lead around 20 points, free throws play a role, but not in this case. OCP only taking 2 in the first quarter, shooting 1, making 1. And as I mentioned, those were the first 2 for Wekiva. And that, as I mentioned, is OCP's first turnover. Both teams going man-to-man throughout the game here.
Bryan to the paint, draws the foul. Tristan Bryan fouled on the attempt to go to the line and shoot 2 for the Mustangs. Foul is called against number 5, Eric Butler. And that's the team's his second, the team's 6th.
So Bryan, excuse me there, has 3 points. make that 4. He's 1 of 2 from the field. And of course, he took the 2 free throws we just saw there a couple possessions ago.
Reese to Alan Lubin.
Very similar play to the one that began this quarter in the quickness there. Wekiva fell asleep, and OCP with the long inbound pass setting up an easy deuce.
Foul called against Warriors number 0, Terrence Reese. That's his first, the team's 7th. That puts the Mustangs into bonus at the line, shooting 1 and 1, Jamaric Hammond.
So as you just mentioned, Mark, Wekiva is already in the bonus here with 6:26 left in the half. So they at least have one advantage. Of course, so far, small sample, 1 free throw. They have not taken advantage.
Out of bounds, Mustangs ball. There's another rare turnover for you.
Now only the second by OCP. Wekiva was 6, not turning the ball over quite as much as they were in the first quarter. Nonetheless, the 1 turnover they have committed here in the second quarter did lead to an easy bucket for OCP as we reach the 6-minute mark. And an 18-point deficit being stared at by the Mustangs.
Q Roberson for 3 from Hammond.
So again, Robertson with the basket there. Nice passing, setting up that basket.
Putback made by Sam Ayuoba.
Only the 3rd offensive rebound there for OCP. Of course, when you're shooting 69% from the field, you're not going to get a lot of offensive rebounding opportunities.
Foul is called against number 0, Tristan Bryan, on the offensive charge. That was taken by Sam Ayuoba. Brown to Van Allen Lubin for the dunk.
And we're seeing that way too much here in the first half, Mark. That quick outlet pass, which gets the ball to at least midcourt. Wekiva just not turning around and getting set up quick enough.
Putback made by Van Allen Lubin. Took a few tries, but the Warriors got it done. To the corner, not there for Bryan. And we're going to foul on the rebound. Mustang foul is called against number 12, Nikhil Edward. That's his first personal foul. And the team's 5th. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, Prince Daniel Asael Caballero and Jalen Sermons.
Yeah, some wholesale changes there. Of course, a number of them are guys who have been called up from JV recently as we hit the last 5 games of the regular season.
Ayuoba gets the basket and a chance to make it a 3-point play. The foul is called against Asael Caballero. That's his first personal and the team's 6th. So now both teams will enjoy bonus for the rest of the half.
Still 4:37 left in the first half. And just for the record, if you're keeping score, that's the 3rd time this half that OCP has an opportunity for the old school 3-point play, the basket and then the foul.
Foul called against Mustangs number 15, Prince Daniel. That's his first, team 7th. That'll put the Warriors into bonus. Before we get to the free throws, we'll return Donovan Stokes and Isaiah Laster. At the line, shooting 1 and 1 will be number 5, Eric Butler.
So Butler had yet to score. He still has yet to score.
Roberson can't get the short jumper to go. Venel and Lubin on the rebound. Brown's three won't fall. The rebound goes to Jalen Sermons.
So, hey, guess what, Mark? OCP has failed to score on 2 consecutive possessions.
Well, there's a first time for everything. Roberson's three won't fall. Rebound goes to Iowa. Nice move. Terrence Reese under the basket for 2.
Yeah, and nothing can last forever either, Mark. So I guess 2 consecutive possessions, Wekiva should be grateful.
Looked like Brown might have gotten a piece of that. Eric Butler floats one in for 2. And we'll pause for a full timeout requested by the Mustangs. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi and Neil Fisher here with you for the last 3 minutes of a game that so far the Mustangs have struggled to build any meaningful momentum.
Yeah, or any semblance of their game, what they do well here. As I mentioned, this was going to be a tall challenge taking on OCP. They are a multiple state champion in the lower classes. Pretty much one of those programs where if they don't make it to the state Final Four every year, it's considered a disappointing season.
Foul is called against number 21, Jaden Hastings, his second, the team's 8th. At the line shooting, Isaiah Laster.
And Wekiva's come out here in this first half and just has not played nearly as well as they're capable of. Made a number of mistakes that, as again, we mentioned, a very young and inexperienced team, but even for a young and inexperienced team at this point of the season, 20 games in, they should not be making. Right before we went to the break, OCP scored an easy basket there in transition. One pass and they were up to midcourt. We've seen buckets scored on OCP getting the ball up to midcourt on one pass about 6 times tonight, and 6 other times with 2 quick passes.
Foul is called against number 1, Donovan Stokes. That's his first personal foul, the team's 8th. The Warriors continue into bonus. At the line shooting 1 and 1, Brian Miller.
So Miller, those are his first points of the ball game. And again, Wekiva catches a break here as the second free throw is no good.
Chasing the rebound all the way into the front court. Laster, who then can't convert.
And down at the other end we go. And the reason I brought up the fact that Wekiva's given up a number of buckets, which started with OCP getting the ball up in 1 or 2 passes, it's just such a difference in the pace that these two teams are playing here. OCP's just such a much quicker pace.
3-point basket by Omar Figueroa Acevedo, the pass from KJ Robinson.
And when you get that pace to where OCP has as far as moving the ball up, it continues into the half-court set, which we just saw there on that tray. A very open look at the basket.
And the Mustangs now are looking down the barrel of a 30-point lead. If they're not careful, they're going to spend the entire second half in a running clock.
Yeah, and for those of you who are not familiar with that rule,
let's do the foul first. Offensive foul is called against number 24, Jalen Sermons, his first, the team's ninth. No bonus shots on offensive fouls, but it turns the ball over to the Warriors.
So if the deficit reaches 35 points at any time during the second half, the clock remains running regardless of what action is going on. The only time it stops is between the third and fourth quarter, as well as a timeout. And once that running clock starts, it does not matter if the lead goes back under 35.
Offensive foul called this time against Brian Miller, his first, the team's ninth.
And the other part of the 35-point running clock rule, too, as Wekiva cuts the lead now to 28.
Mustang basket scored by number 1, Donovan Stokes.
The other part of the rule is very simply it does not go into effect in the first half, only during the second half. So now with that bucket, it looks unlikely OCP can reach the 35-point mark anyway. However, just for future use, 45 seconds remaining. Wekiva down by 30. Again, an opportunity to get that lead back down to 28 here. And again, as I've mentioned a number of times throughout this first half, when you're young and inexperienced, and especially when you're playing a state powerhouse such as OCP, small steps are very important. Keeping that lead under 30 would be one of those very small steps which are important.
Jaden Hastings on the pass from Omar Figueroa Acevedo, gets the basket and draws the foul. Called against number 1, Donovan Stokes. His second and the team's 10th.
So that's the fourth time in this first half that OCP has an opportunity to, or has created the old-fashioned three-point play, the bucket plus the free throw. And so now Wekiva will try to get their lead back under 30 here, despite the mental mistake there of committing the foul during the basket. They can still get it under 30. They're not going to. Just not a good shot, not a good possession to end this first half.
And that takes us to the end of the first half.
He said 7. Yeah, Coach Loomis said 7.
The Mustangs have the opening possession of the third period. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi and Neil Fisher here with you to take you through the second half, which at the rate we're going may be an abbreviated second half between the Mustangs and the Warriors.
Yeah, take a real quick look here at the stats. With a 31-point lead, obviously the outcome's long been decided. But for purposes of color analysis, statistics certainly reflect this 31-point lead here held by OCP, and that pretty much starts with the field goal percentage, 68 for OCP, 19 of 28. Wekiva at only 18%, 4 of 22, so 68 versus 18.
Terrence Reese gets the basket and a chance to make it a three-point play. The foul is called against Mustangs number 11, Jared Bryan. That's his third personal foul.
Rebounds, of course, are now in in OCP's favor, 21-11. Wekiva not doing too bad on the turnovers, a very respectable number, only 8. And OCP with 5, both teams 3 of 7 from the free throw line. And of course, Mark talked about this numerous times in the first half, that 68 to 18% differential. Usually, and this is no exception, when you're shooting, getting that big a differential, means one team is getting some really good looks at the basket, not just getting inside and taking the shots from inside the paint, but no one's contesting them outside. So again, Mark, now that we got a 34-point lead, we talked about this in the first half and opened just a minute ago. 35-point is the mark for the running clock.
Donovan Stokes on the layup. So the Mustangs will stave off that feed for at least a little while longer.
Yeah, and what that means is once the lead grows to 35, the running clock goes into effect, and it does not matter if the lead dips below 35.
Then Alan Lubin from Eric Butler.
The running clock does continue throughout the second half, and running clock means it only stops during called timeouts in between the third and fourth quarter.
Hugh Roberson on the pass from Nikhil Edward for 3.
So Wekiva's opened up the second half here, only 2 minutes in, a small sample, but nonetheless that small sample, we've seen a much more inspired performance, a crisper performance. Specifically, the passing has been much crisper.
Yeah, and actually since halftime, the Mustangs have tied the game 5-5 with OCP, so they are going toe-to-toe with their starting lineup. Foul's called against number 0, Terrence Reese. That's his second personal foul, the team's first this half.
Both teams have gone man-to-man defense for the entire game. Also seeing a much more patient Wekiva team here in terms of their offensive shot selection. First half, we were not seeing these many passes around the perimeter and the ball coming up to the top of the key as much. So again, OCP, good recovery defense there. Looked like Hammond had an open shot, closed that open space closed very quickly after he received the ball. You know, just when I praised Wekiva for being more patient in the shot selection, they take a poor field goal percentage one.
Anthony Brown from Eric Butler.
And of course, that rebound leads to an easy transition opportunity for OCP right underneath the basket.
Stokes Roberson for three, not there. Rebound goes to Iowa. Q Roberson is called on the push. It's his first personal foul, the team's second. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, Isaiah Laster. And for OCP, Brian Miller, Camden Easley, KJ Robinson, Jaden Hastings, and Omar Figueroa Acevedo.
And I'll be happy to do the math for you. If OCP scores on this possession, we have a running clock.
Omar Figueroa Acevedo scores three. And yep, we are now officially in a running clock for the remainder of the ball game.
And again, to remind you, that means that the clock will not stop except for the break between the third and fourth quarters, as well as any timeouts called. Does not matter if the lead does get below 35 again.
Push is called against number 14. Camden Easley is second, the team second. Checking in for the Mustangs, number 0, Tristan Bryan.
So we are now under 3 minutes here in the third quarter. Again, running clock. We will only stop for a break between the third and fourth quarter, or if either of the coaches call a timeout. Both teams have remained in man-to-man throughout the course of this game, and again, with a 35-plus point lead, I don't see why either team would switch.
Brian Miller on the Warrior layup.
So talk going all the way back to the beginning of this game, Mark mentioned that OCP in any season against any team is always a tall challenge. They've won multiple state championships. Pretty much anything less than a trip to the state final is considered a poor season for them. So even just to be able to compete with this team from start to finish, you have to really bring in your A game. Of course, Wekiva, a young and inexperienced team, is nowhere near the skill level and talent that OCP is to begin with. But again, they came in and made that situation even more exasperated with just really a performance that just looked like they were not totally focused in terms of playing clean basketball. Again, I don't think it was really the effort. I think mentally, you know, they had that intensity they were looking forward to, but they just made a lot of mistakes that even a young and inexperienced team, a team full of players who are playing in their first season, should not be making after 20 games.
Foul called against number 14, Camden Easley. That's his third personal foul, the team's third as well. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 4, Q Roberson.
So again, with the running clock, most of that remaining time in this period is going to be chewed up, or at least half of it.
Q Roberson for 3.
So as I like to say, Mark, stop, pop, and drop. One of the few times I can say that tonight. Good inbound pass. And again, with the running clock, this foul will do it for the third quarter.
Foul is called against number 11, Jared Bryan. That's his Fourth personal foul, the team's third. Time has expired on the third period, but we will still shoot the free throws that were earned by Jaden Hastings.
So Hastings now up to 6 points. He's 2 of 4 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line.
And that takes us to the end of the third period. 58-22 is the score going into the final 8 minutes of tonight's contest. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi and Neil Fisher here with you to take you through the final 8 minutes of tonight's contest. We'll start with a foul called against number 24. That's Jalen Sermon's second personal foul, the team's fourth.
So again, a quick look at the stats here. Remember, we are in running clock. And of course, starts with field goal percentage. I know I've mentioned it several times, just how much of a differential there's been. Wekiva's actually improved a little bit.
Offensive push is called against Camden Easley, his fourth, the team's fourth.
They are now at, Wekiva's now 23%, 7 of 30. They're still, though, facing a tremendous deficit. 65% by OCP, 24-37. They're also ahead OCP, that is 27-14 on the boards. And of course Wekiva with 10 turnovers. That's actually a very reasonable mark.
Camden Easley is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot two for the Warriors. The Mustang foul. It's called against number 12, Nikhil Edward. That's his second personal foul. And the team's fifth.
So again, a quick note here to close out the stats. Only 10 turnovers for Wekiva. That means they're only turning the ball over 3 1/3 times each quarter. However, compared to OCP, who's only turned the ball over 6 times, that is a fairly large deficit. That's pretty much, even if, say, OCP only scores 3 of the 4 times in that deficit, that's still 6 points being given up. So now under 6 minutes left here.
Checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 10, Isaiah Laster.
So a stoppage here as, can't see who is that? Is that Robertson? Oh, there's. Well, we got an injury behind the OCP bench here. That's why we got a stoppage. Again, as I said, we are on a running clock. This actually was the one other circumstance that I forgot to mention as far as the clock stopping.
Who is that? Coach. Who is that? Who is that? Isaiah, right?
Is that Laster?
Yeah, that's Isaiah Laster that's on the floor behind the OCP bench, letting the athletic trainer tend to him.
Yeah, and he originally landed on his stomach face first. He's now on his back, so I guess that's at least a good sign.
The athletic trainer is tending to his knee.
Coach Lubin is over there, as well as Miss Hudson, Virginia Hudson. She's one of our science teachers. So when we do start again, Mark, we will have 5 minutes and 20 seconds left. And, of course, as we mentioned, a running clock as well.
Isaiah Laster shaken up on the play. He makes his way off with the assistance of our athletic training team.
And so now he is making his way gingerly back to the bench. He's walking behind us.
On his own power, which is always good to see.
Can't tell exactly what the injury is, but it does look like it's some type of lower leg injury as he is hobbling. Which, of course, would explain why he could not get up after falling.
Jaden Hastings from Brian Miller. Well, the Warriors didn't waste any time getting back into the groove.
Yeah, another easy deuce there for OCP. Again, Wekiva's defense is not moving quickly and rotating.
Hold is called against number 21, Jaden Hastings. That's his third personal foul, the team's fifth.
Under 4.5 minutes left in the ball game.
Foul called against number 1, Brian Miller, his second, the team's sixth. Malachi Hampton, the JV bump up, comes into the game for the Mustangs. Here's another foul. Foul called against number 35, Omar Figueroa Acevedo, his first, the team's seventh. That'll put the Mustangs into bonus. Jamaric Hammond will be at the line, shooting 1-1.
So Hammond has yet to score tonight. He's 0 of 5 from the field. And Hammond's usually one of the leading scorers for Wekiva, so certainly a surprise there. So as we are now at 3 minutes and 15 seconds left here, after tonight, Wekiva will take on Apopka. That is Friday. And then they play Ocoee and Lake Nona next week. And that will close out the regular season. They then go into the district championship tournament.
Miller to Jaden Hastings.
And as we mentioned throughout the season, brought it up a couple times tonight, just a quick reminder as we're now under 3 minutes, there are no longer 9 classes in basketball, in the sport of basketball. There are now 7, the FHSAA reducing the number, and that's also shuffled up the district membership. A lot of the traditional pairings are no longer in effect, and they've also brought in a ratings, which is probably more familiar to you using the word point system. The district champions There are 4 districts in each of the 4 regions across the state. The 4 district champions in each of those regions still automatically earn a berth. However, the next 4 berths into the FHSA postseason are then determined by that rating system, and the seedings are as well. There is one, I guess you could say, addendum to that, though, and that is that if you do win it's not done according to point 1 through 8, it's done according to points 1 through 4 among the district champions.
Brian Miller is called on his 3rd personal foul, the team's 8th. Jamara Cameron will shoot 1-1.
So 1 through 4 in those seedings when you get into the FH postseason tournament are all district champions, and then 5 through 8 are a wild card nature. So obviously Wekiva will be going in after a very long regular season, only 3 wins, but as they say in baseball, hope does spring eternal. It is a new season, and perhaps if Wekiva can maybe make some adjustments here and up its game. Again, the biggest problem Wekiva has at this point is they just still tend to make mistakes.
Yeah, and at this point, though, Neil, the Mustangs are really going to have to go for the district championship or bust, because I haven't looked yet, but they do not likely have enough points in those Max Preps rankings to qualify as a wild card, so they would almost need to come in as a champion at this point.
Yeah, that is true, Mark, but again, like I was saying, if maybe they can pull off a couple of upsets in that playoff in the district and wind up in the final, who knows? Again, they are not playing their traditional rivals, Apopka, West Orange, Evans. Those are some heavy hitters in the state, much like OCP. If you don't make a deep run in the FHSA postseason tournament, it's a bad season. And that's going to pretty much do it. Again, a running clock, so one more inbound pass, 10 seconds. OCP will dribble out the remaining time here, and Wekiva will go back to the locker room and, for lack of a better way of putting it, lick its wounds.
That takes us to the end of the ball game. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for coming out to support your Mustang and Warrior athletes. Thanks also for your patience as we got a late start here in our quadruple header. We have lots more action coming your way this week. Coming up on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, the wrestling team has senior night as they bid farewell to their class of 2020. That'll be before their quad match that starts here at 5:30. Then coming up on Thursday, the girls will host senior night against Ocoee, and they have an opportunity to seal the Orlando Metro Conference Championship at that game. We hope you'll join us for that, and make sure you come out early so you can join us for the senior night ceremony. For those of you in the arena, thanks for joining us. Please drive carefully and arrive home safely. Those of you who tuned in online, thanks for visiting YouTube or the NFHS Network. Please subscribe before you go. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Wekiva Sports, and bookmark at WekivaMustangs.com for all of your scores, schedules, and more. Have a great night.